Right then, all we're going to talk through now is the baits I use for spring margin fishing. So first of all, we've got swim stim green ground bait. It's the betaine green, and I've used this for years. It's so versatile, it's unreal. You can use it down the edge, you can use it for skimmers, paste, anything. It just suits loads of different kinds of fishing. The reason I use green is because the dark bottom, it just suits green lovely. The next is, if I can, a lot of fisheries now up and down the country are making you use their own pellets. But if you can get away with it and they don't insist you use their pellets, I always like to use swim stim green pellets. Next, we're going to use pellet soak, because today we're at Bone Hill Mill and they do insist you use their own pellets. So all I'm going to do is make my own betaine green pellets with the dynamite pellet soak. Always like to bring some corn in the spring. I don't fish corn too much for the summer because it's not got much protein in it. It's a water-based bait, but it's very visible. So I like to bring some corn. The reason I use the XL corn is because it's very uniform. Or if I'm fishing like a waggler or something like that, a lot of the corn goes in the same spot. If you're using other brands like Green Giants and stuff like that, when you fire it out, it spreads too much. That's why I like to use that. And then we brought some durable hooker pellets. So there's a lot of these on the market, hooker pellets that you can buy. However, some of them are too soft, some of them are too hard. When you do hook them, they break up. These are fantastic. You can squeeze them in your fingers and they won't break up. They're just really nice. You can also put these on a bait band, bait spike, use them on a method. Like the sound of the tub, they're really durable. I've got them in the betaine green again, and I've got them in the white. So all I'm going to talk through first is how I go about mixing through my ground bait. Yeah, so first of all, you don't need much ground bait at all in springtime. So all I'm going to do is take a 2-point tub, just fill the 2-point tub, put that into the bucket. The reason I fill a 2-point tub is because I think I'm going to need around 3 points today maximum, and 2 points of dry ground bait will give me around 3 points of wetted ground bait. So all we're going to do is just add our water bits at a time. This ground bait's got quite a low feed asset to it, so we'll start on this today just to try and attract some fish in, and then we'll wean them onto the pellets. That's the plan, and it's been working quite well. So we're in the middle of March now, it's the 15th of March, and we've had all that bad weather, so we haven't had much spring yet, and I've had some good results doing this. So that's took 450 ml of water, 2 pints of ground bait. It's nice and wet now. Just going to put that to one side and leave that to take on the water. We'll come back to that and riddle it in a bit. As I said, just the fishery doesn't allow these betaine green pellets, but we're going to take some of their pellets and we're going to make them into these pellets. I'll do both batches to show you how good it actually is, but these are the 2 ml pellets. Dynamite used to do the 1 ml and 3 ml, and I could never get on with either size, but now they've brought out a 2 ml, they're just perfect. As I said, just We don't need many pellets for today. So all I'm going to do is take a 1 pint tub, fill that up, so that's a pint into there, and instead of wasting your money on pellet soakers and all this bait strainers and all that good stuff, we all carry a landing net. So what I'm going to do is pour my pellets straight into the landing net, into the water, leave them in there for about 40 seconds. All we're going to do now is put our point into a 3 pint tub. As you can see, there's pints of wetted pellets. Get our pellet soak, and for a pint of pellets, all I'm going to do is give them 150 ml of pellet soak. Into there, give them a good mix around. The thing I like about this pellet soak is it's not just a bait dye, it's a fantastic additive as well. Once you mix them all around, pop them to one side and leave them. I'll do some of the betaine green pellets as well, and we'll compare them once I've set some gear up in about 40 minutes. Expanders. In my eye, I'd never go on a commercial without expanders. So all we're going to do, take our expander pellets. Don't need many at all for a full day. Pop them into your pellet pump. So a few people I know have been putting the expanders in there, putting the water in there, and then adding the pellet soak into the pellet pump. The reason I don't like this is because if I go to a certain fishery and the fish don't seem to like the betaine green, I've contaminated my pellet pump with betaine green pellet soak then. So I always like to pump them first on their own. That way I'm not putting anything I don't want into my pellet pump. That's all the pellets sunk. Just give them a couple of, for good luck, couple of pumps. All I like to do is drain some of the water off. Just leave a bit of water in there with them. Get a bag. Pour the pellets straight into the bag. Get your pellet soak. Into the bag with them. So they're all doused in the pellet soak. All I'm going to do then is tie the bag off. Make sure you've got some air inside the bag because you want the pellets to expand. And pop them to the side as well. As they're expanding, they're taking on all that, because an expander starts off as a hard pellet. Once you pump it, it's going to start sucking in all that water. As it sucks in the water, there's not much water in there, but it's full of the pellet soak. It's going to suck in all that goodness from the pellet soak, and they'll be lovely in a bit. Pop them to one side with your groundbait, with your pellets, and that is it. Takes 5 minutes, and then we can go and set up some gear. So if you come over with me now, I'll talk you through my rigs. Right then, so while all our bait's over there settling, all I'm going to talk you through now is the rigs that we'll use for spring edge fishing. So first of all, we've got a float choice. My float choice, I always, for edge fishing, I'll always go for a round bodied float. The floats I've moved over to now are all from a company called Dot 'em Down. You can find them on Facebook. It's a bloke called Lee Johnson, lovely bloke, and his floats are fantastic. I'll put a link at the end where you can find these floats. The first one we're going to use today, it's a prototype, so he doesn't sell this one at the moment. He's going to bring it out towards the end of the year, ready for next spring. So it's a nice small float. It's got a rugby type body. It's got a 2mm nice bristle on it, and then you've got a glass stem. Moving up to elastic choice. So because it's spring and the fish are just coming out of winter mode, they're not going to be pulling too hard, so I'll always go for a softish elastic. Today we're going to be using a 10 to 12 hollow elastic. Moving down, we've just got a Dacron connector, and then on this rig we've got 015 mainline running down to 10 number 11 shots, and then 013 bottom to a 16 B911. That might sound a bit light for edge fishing, however, like I just said, we are in spring. We're not going to be bagging down the edge, we're just going to be trying to catch that one fish what comes in and then hopefully get him out. That's why we're using nice light balanced gear to get every fish out. A nice point, going back to the float, that I do like about these floats is the eyes. He's brought out a new eye called the Power Eye. It's a nice wide eye, and it stops the line from going onto the body so much. So it's a nice straight through action from hook to elastic, and the float's not going to take too much pressure. These floats could take a lot of pressure anyway because they're well built. They are nice sturdy floats. They don't bend too much, but they're very, very strong. That's the first rig. That's the one I'm going to start on. And then moving on, later in the day, when we're hopefully bagging, we're going to move on to this little baby. These are the brand new mudliners from Dot 'em Down. This is in a 0.3, but they go from 0.2 up to 0.5. They're a short stubby body, a short stubby float. The body's really small, but it's a lovely shape. If you look at the shape, it's got a nice round shape at the bottom for stability, but it comes into a nice neck. It's got a short 2mm bristle, because we're going to be fishing this in shallower water. You can fish this through all the way through summer as well as spring. And then 0.5 glass stem, and then a 2mm bristle, as I just said. This one hasn't got the Power Eye. It's got a nice strong short eye, but the bodies are nice and strong, so it's not going to harm the float. Moving up, we've got exactly the same elastic, 10 to 12, exactly the same main line, 015. Moving down, as you can see, we've got a different shotting pattern on this one. However, we'll talk about shotting patterns and stuff in a minute and why I shot different floats the way I do. Moving down, we've got 6 inches again of 013 main line down to a 16 B911. Both my rigs have got pullers on. You need pullers if you're going to be fishing light elastic, but that's the rigs I'm using in my spring edge fishing. The shotting patterns, because we're going to be fishing deeper with this first rig, the prototype, I've gone for a strung out pattern. So when it falls, it's going to be falling nice and slow. The water's clear because we're in spring. The fish haven't started bashing the bottom up yet, so it's nice and clear. So then fish are going to be watching that corn or the Dura pellet float through the water, and they're going to nail it just as it touches the bottom. Hopefully, that's how you want it. That's why we've got a nice strung bulk. Moving on to the next one, because we're going to be moving into shallower water with this one. We've got a bulker number 8 right on top of the hook length. A nice positive. We're going to be looking for nice positive bites. When the float shoots under, you know that fish is going to be on. That's my rigs that I'd use. Right, what we're going to talk about now is the depths. So because we're not in summer and the fish aren't going to be hauling into the margins, you need to think carefully about the depth of water you're going to be fishing in. Because the water's clear, you don't want to be having fish in like 18 inches of water, because they'll spook off your pole and stuff like that. They are very spooky in the spring. So first of all, the prototype. We've got this at about 3.5 foot deep. This is about 2 metres off the bank, where them fish are going to come in, feel nice and safe, because we've got a lot of water above them. They're not going to see our pole or anything like that, no shadows on top of them. And this is the rig that we're going to be fishing throughout the day. Later on, when them fish start coming up into that shallower water, we're going to move onto the mud liner then. This is at about 2 foot deep, 2.5 foot deep, and this is the one I'm hopefully going to start catching on later on. So now that's our rigs, let's talk about getting our bait finally prepped, get it finished off, and let's get fishing. Right then, we've left this ground bait and stuff about 30 minutes now, just come back to it, and it looks ready to me. So first of all, we've got our pellets. In the 2-point tub, we've got the original betaine green dynamite pellets. And then in the 3-point tub, we've got our fishery owned pellets that have had 150ml of pellet soak onto them. As you can see, they both look near enough identical. They're both exactly the same colour. The dynamite pellets are a slightly bigger size than the fishery pellets, but that's because they're different pellets. Okay, so put them to one side, they're done. Next, all we've got to do is our ground bait. This ground bait mixes up nice without riddling it. So as long as you add the water nice and slowly, you give it a proper mix, you shouldn't need to riddle it. However, just for peace of mind, I'll show you putting it through the riddle. So just put it into, we've got 2 pints of ground bait, that's dry ground bait, which should give us around 3 pints of wet ground bait. There we go. 3 pints of ground bait. All I'm going to do is chuck that through a riddle now. As you can see, most of it has gone through. We're left with maybe 5 tiny lumps on there. And then we've got a nice fluffy ground bait in the bucket. The consistency you want, just a light squeeze gives you a ball like that, but it breaks up into a nice fluffy mix. Next, our expander pellets. So a lot of people will put these in water throughout the day, but don't chuck away your pellet soak, because instead of water, just subsidise it for pellet soak. So put them into a tub. And you're left with betaine green expander pellets. So they blend in lovely with the betaine green micros or the betaine green ground bait. So because we're in spring, if the fish are spooking off high vis baits like corn, dura pellets, stuff like that, go on to our betaine green expander, and that should sort them fish out from spooking, because nothing stands out in the peg then, everything's the same colour, and they'll be grazing around, pick up that expander, boom, fish on. Right then, let's have a look at swim selection and whereabouts in the peg hold fish in the spring fishing for margin fish. Right then, so what we're going to talk about now is swim selection and the depth that I'm going to be fishing at. Okay, so the first thing when I look at my peg, I want to fish long away from me, but I want to be comfortable at the same time. So if it's windy, obviously you can't go too long because you want to be able to present your rig properly. So I've picked a nice length at about 30 metres today, just over this pallet, and and that's where I want to fish. So the next thing I'm going to do is set my rig at the depth I want to fish at. Not because it looks nice or anything like that. I set my rig on my top kit to where I want to fish at. So on this prototype float, I've gone at half the top kit, so that's about 3.5 foot deep. All we're going to do is ship out to the desired length. Then we're going to come into the bank. Then we're going to check the depth. Okay, so it's about 1.5 foot by the bank. Then we're just going to slowly work our way out. So we're about 1 metre off the bank, 1.5 metres off the bank now. Slowly working out. There we go. That's the depth there I want to fish at. All you're going to do is look past your pole into the far distance and pick a far marker. Pick that marker, make a mental note in your head. Then that's our first rig plumbed up. You're just going to have a look around your peg, make sure it's nice and flat, there's no big boulders or tree branches in the water. And that's nice for me. So that's my first rig I'm happy with. Next, all we're going to do is get the rig, which is going to be for later on in the day, when the fish start moving up into the shallower water. But it is still quite deep. It's still at 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot. And this is the mud liner from Dot and Down. Just attach our plummet. Set our depth at the depth we want to fish at, not because you've heard it's right. Pick the depth that you want to fish at and you think that the fish will be comfortable in that depth. Just take it out. All you're going to do is go close to the bank again, about 1/2 foot off the bank, lower it down, and then just work your way out again. There it is, there's the depth. About 2 foot off the bank, 2.5 foot off the bank. That's our depth. Again, have a little plumb around, make sure there's no boulders or anything like that, or snags. That's lovely there. I'm happy with that. That's the swim plumbed up. If you do find any boulders or anything like that, just get your landing net and try and clear them out. If you can't clear them, just move like 1 metre closer to you or 1 metre past and just repeat the process. You want to make sure there's no snags or anything in your pegs. If you feed your bait on top of the snags, you're not going to be able to fish there. That's how I select my margin and the depth I'm fishing at. Right, let's go now on to feeding and how I feed the peg. Right then, so at the start of a match, all I'm going to feed is a small ball of groundbait, not squeezed too hard, and 2 pieces of corn. You might think this sounds a small amount for fishing in the margin. However, the fish are still in winter mode and you won't feed this much in winter, so you don't want to go mad in spring. So what I'm going to do is ship out my desired location. Make sure you line up that far bank marker, just there, nice and slowly release it into your peg right where you want it, right on top of that marker. Small ball of ground bait and 2 pieces of corn. I'm not going to feed anything closer to the bank than that, because I want the fish in that deeper water to start off with, and then later on in the day, when they start wafting about and stuff like that, they will come closer to the bank naturally. So then I will, with a small cad pot, I'll start bringing them further and further up the bank if I need to. But from now on, I won't pick up that cup, that large cup. Everything will be done through a cad pot. Right then, all I'm going to do now is leave that for about an hour for them to settle, and then we'll have a look over it then. Right then, so we're an hour and a half in. I fed that small ball on the 3.5 foot line about an hour and a half ago, so at the start. I'm going to put on a green durable, and hopefully we're not going to feed anything at the moment, and hopefully there's a fish down there just waiting. The reason I'm going to go in with a green durable at the moment is I put in 2 pieces of corn, but the durable is the safe bet because there's green groundbait down there. It will blend in and it's not too obvious, so it won't spook any fish as it goes in. What we're going to do is ship out to 13 metres and just bring it in nice and slowly. Once you get over the top of them, just lower the pellet in nice and slow, just drag it in. And just let it swing in nice and slow. Then just lower it down. Lower it down nice and slow. Any fish down there will be able to watch that fall. Nice and slowly. There we go. You probably see that my float's dotted right down. Because we're in spring, the bites tend to be shy, because there isn't a lot of fish down there at one time. It's just one fish at a time, just coming in, and they take the time when they're feeding, so you're looking for all the little dibs and stuff. So you want your float dotted. Not so much so you can't see it, but you want it so if you do get any bites, the float goes under. No indications as of yet. You want to be leaving it for like 3 or 4 minutes at a time, and then after that we'll put a cad pot on, and then we'll just drip some bait in through a cad pot. But I won't pick, after I've fed that initial bait at the start, I won't pick the big cup up then. Everything will be done through a cad pot, and it stops you blowing your peg. The fish don't want a lot of bait. Less is more sometimes, and just be patient. What you can do after every minute or so, just lift the float up, just lower it down nice and slowly again. Any fish down there will be able to see that lift up, and it'll attract their eye sometimes, and as you lower it back down you'll just get a little dib on the float, and that's a bite. That's an indication there. The float just moved a tiny bit. Now all we're looking for is that little dib. Oh, and we missed him. Just repeat the process. All we're going to do this time though is put a small cad pot on, and we're just going to drip a bit of bait in. Not too much though. few fish down there now. As I lowered that pellet in, and carp stuck it on the drop. That's the reason that we use that strung out shotting pattern, you see. Put that ball in, put that ball of ground bait in. Straight away, we've had a fish. Feels like it could be a nice fish. Them durables are just fantastic because you can leave plenty of hook showing. And when a fish does take it, 8 times out of 10, it'll be on. I would say 9 times out of 10, but I missed 2 bites earlier, so. This elastic, 10 to 12 hollow, working absolutely perfectly. Just really take your time with the fish, let the elastic do all the work. Oh, 13 bottom, might sound really light, however you'd be surprised at how big some of the fish are that you can get, and that's a big old fish, that is. That's a big fish. Just straight in the corner of the mouth, just where we like to hook them. That won't never coming out. Right, and so we've been down this edge now for a little while, and they are coming thick and fast now. The fish. We're pretty much guaranteeing a bite every chuck. Not put any micros in yet, because there just seems, I'm just catching on ground bait, so if it's not broken, don't fix it at the end of the day. I've not put any standout baits on, I'm just using the green Duras, durable hooker pellets, and I'm not spooking any fish because there's no standout baits, everything looks normal. Just working lovely. I've not felt a need to come up the shelf yet because the fish are comfortable in that deeper water. And that's what it's about. It's about finding a happy medium and sticking with it. All I'll show you now is how much I'm feeding through the cup and how I go about hooking the Dura pellets. Right, and so the way I hook the Dura pellets is exactly the same as the expander, straight through the barrel of the hook, pull it in, out, make sure plenty of hooks exposed, and then all I'm feeding is a small nugget of ground bait each chuck. Right, and guys, we decided to call it a day. Oh, what a fantastic day I've had, absolutely fantastic. So at the start, we fed a small nugget of swim stem ground bait, swim stem green ground bait, shall I say, it's a bit of a mouthful. And then we've put in a couple of grains of corn. We've left it for a good hour and a half. We've gone over it. I've had a couple of indications, but they hadn't settled. I've missed a few fish, so then I've put a cad pot on, and we've just dribbled in bits of ground bait, small balls of the swim stem ground bait over the top, and we've fished a Dura pellet, so one of the new durable hookers from Dynamite Baits in the betaine green, and the rest is history really. I've just not stopped catching after that. It's been fantastic. The only thing I did change was my hook bait for the day. I changed over to the expanders that have got the new pellet soak on, and it was one a chuck, absolute one a chuck. But the best rig today by far was the new prototype from Dot'em Down. It sat absolutely fantastic, and throughout the day it's not changed at all. I've not had to take any trimming shot off or anything. It's just been fantastic. I've not been broke at all, and I've had, well, I don't even know how many carp I've had, but it's just been fantastic. The rig has been well balanced because I've not been broke. I've not lost any fish. I foul hooked 2 fish, I think. Yeah, we've done every bit of feeding through a cad pot apart from the start, and that was it really. The other rig, so the shallower rig, there's only probably, I don't know, 12-inch difference between them two, and I've not picked it up. The way I think of things is the fish was comfortable in that depth of water, so that's right. If you're not foul hooking a lot of fish and everything seems comfortable, you're happy, don't change it. However, if I did start foul hooking fish and stuff, that's when I would pick up this shallower rig, and I just keep working my way up the shelf with this rig until I stop foul hooking fish and you're happy. The main thing is listen to the fish, what they're doing. So if the fish aren't happy and you're foul looking and stuff like that, you're doing something wrong. Something is wrong. You're either feeding too much, you're in the wrong depth of water, or something like that. But this rig today has been right for me and for the fish, because we've not foul looked them and we've got most of them in. So nice and balanced gear, and in spring you'll have a nice day. So we'll just have a look at our fish now, and then we'll get them back. Right then, thanks for watching guys. It's time to get these fish back. I'm not going to lift them out because there's a few in there. Thanks for watching. Follow them few tips what I'll give you, and you'll also have a good day in the spring. See you later.